We optimize everything about our health routines, except the air we breathe. And when your air is off, your body feels it first. The Blue Air Blue signature air purifiers quietly remove tiny airborne pollutants and odors, supporting deeper sleep, better recovery, and clearer focus. Visit blueair.com and use code SIGNATURE30. We optimize hydration, movement, supplements, and sleep. But most people completely ignore the air they're breathing. And when your air is off, your body feels it first. The Blue Signature Air Purifiers by Blue Air quietly remove airborne pollutants, odors, smoke, and allergens, supporting deeper sleep, better recovery, and clearer focus. It's the most customizable air purifier you can get, with exclusive accessories designed to fit your space and your style. Visit blueair.com and use code SIGNATURE30 to elevate your wellness routine.
Some things never cease to amaze me. Sunrises, hitting a golf ball straight, and the overwhelming ignorance of the common person. Here's a thought. Use Form Bs to determine classification. This, in fact, is competitive balance. Season 8 of Son Coaches Podcast, where not everyone is funny or tells funny stories, but everyone has a story. Son Coaches Podcast, Season 8, and I'm excited today to be joined by the offensive line and offensive coordinator of South Effingham High School Mustangs. He's a coach's kid. He's also a doctor and a younger guy than what we normally have on here, so it'll be cool to hear his perspective on all three issues. Coach William Chomskis, thanks for being on with us.
I appreciate you for having me on.
Well, Coach, Doctor Coach, I let the cat out of the bag a little bit with the fact that you're a coach's kid. So where did you, I'm sure you grew up all over, but where did you spend the majority of your time, and where did you graduate from high school?
Yeah, with my dad coaching and kind of all over the place. I was born in Screven County, and he was coaching at Screven. And then we moved to Evans. From Evans, we went to Mary Persons, from Mary Persons to Lincolnton. And then I spent middle school and high school at Vidalia. So that's where I ended up graduating and playing ball, was for the Vidalia Indians.
So what was it like playing for your dad? Did he coach your position? Did he coach you, or did he let somebody else coach you?
Well, he was the head coach that called the offense, and I played receiver. So we had a lot to do with each other. It was interesting. It was tough at times that, playing for your dad. And my dad's a hard-nosed coach, does a great job with it. And sometimes it's hard as a 16, 17, 18-year-old to kind of forget that he's your coach and your dad. And it just kind of got mixed. Sometimes it was tough, but looking back on it, I'm glad I did. I definitely learned a lot of lessons from him as a coach and as a man, not just as a dad, that, not a lot of people get to do that. So it's fun to look back on when it probably wasn't always the funnest when playing.
Did you play, ain't that the truth? Did you play anything other than football?
I did. I ran track. I ran the mile and 2 mile. And I also played soccer in high school. I played baseball growing up, but had a bunch of buddies that played soccer, and they talked me into it my junior year. And I ended up running track and playing soccer. And I ended up playing college ball at Berry for a year before I went off to Kennesaw to work for their coaching staff and get a degree.
So you knew you were going to coach all along.
Look, when you grow up in a family, like my great uncle is Dan Pitts. My other great uncle is Tommy Gillibo, who was huge in the GHSA and got the championship games and all that, played at the Dome. When your dad's a coach and you ball boy under Steve Chafin at Mary Persons, and you ball boy under Larry Campbell as a kid at Lincoln County, and even ball boy for your own dad as a head coach in middle school, I don't think I had much choice in coaching. But it's kind of in my blood, and I've always wanted to do it. I thought about being a college coach, and I did that for a little bit, but I love the relationships and everything that you could do at the high school level, and just saw how my dad had some major impacts on kids, making them a man, making them better Christian men, and all these other things. And I just realized that's what I've wanted to do since I was a little kid. When I knew I wasn't good enough to ever be an NFL player, I wanted to be a coach.
Yeah, I got you. I ask people that all the time because I'm like, did you get into this on purpose? And then, a lot of times when you're a coach's kid or a teacher's kid, they're like, baby, do anything but this. They try to push you to do something else. But I imagine when your family's that deep into it, in your situation, it's probably a little bit different.
It is. And my mom's also an educator. She taught me math when I was in high school. And so, I mean, my family's always been in education, and I knew I wanted to coach either college or high school. I don't really think that I ever have had a mind to do anything other than want to coach and teach.
So you left Berry and went to Kennesaw, and you got on their staff. So you GA'd there?
So what I did is I was a student assistant at Kennesaw. I was there from the first year of just practice up until when we won the Big South for the first time in 2017 or 2016. I can't remember the year. I think it was 17. And then I had a chance to GA there, but the problem was at Kennesaw, there was only a recruiting GA, so I wouldn't have been able to do much coaching. GA spot at a D2 school in New Hampshire called Franklin Pierce. And it was, didn't pay much, but they paid for my master's. They let me be the O-line coach, and I had my recruiting areas. And so I got to coach there. And then while recruiting in Georgia, I ran into Michael Pollock, who was at Lincoln County, and we started talking, and he ended up hiring me as his OC. And that's how I ended up back in Georgia and ended up coaching high school ball.
I was his DC at Americas.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
MP, my dude. And now, like a cat with 9 lives, he has ended up on prime staff. So.
Yeah. Look, he taught me a lot when it came to X's and O's. Very, very good football mind. And he went from Lincoln into working with Dion at Jack State. And then I saw him go off to Colorado, and I was happy for him that he was able to do that.
Yeah, I was pretty fired up. I was at Northside when he came through, and it's just he ain't changed, and he's still the same. He's a good friend of mine. I've known him for a long time, and it was fun being his DC because he's an offensive guy, so he more or less left me alone. It's like, hey, stop him. How about that? And,
I know that, and being his OC. And he's such an offensive mind. It was, you better make sure you're correct when he comes to ask a question.
Oh, yeah. I remember he would come in and ask, you got him stopped or whatever. And we show him the game plan. And he's like, all right, great. And I ran the weight room for him too. So, I enjoyed it. So that's pretty cool that we have that connection right there. So
yeah, I didn't realize that you worked for him.
Oh, yeah. Well, when you got all the T-shirts like I do, my wife calls it's the 7 degrees of lamb. It's like people everywhere. It's ridiculous. And I'm like, well, we've been lots of places over the years. So, and that's one great thing about it. I mean, people pick at me about it, but I kind of enjoy the fact that we've met different people and got to deal with a lot of different kinds of kids and different situations. And, you expand your net, and you just get, one of the young coaches asked me a while back, he's like, what do you do? Like, what's your thing? Like, are you an offensive guy? You're a defensive guy? And I was like, I know people. that's pretty much it, man. I just kind of know people.
Always good to know some people. It's better to know the right people than to know the right information.
Correct. So how long were you with him at Lincoln County as his OC?
So I was there just his last year when he moved on and went to Jack State. And funny thing is that's when my dad ended up taking the head coaching job in Lincolnton from Vidalia. So I went from the OC he brought in Sonny Spurlock, and he looked at me and said, well, I'd like for you to stay and learn from this guy. And I knew who Sonny was. And I said, heck yeah, I'll stay. Like, I get the title and all that. It is what it is. I'd rather learn from one of the best to ever do it. So I stayed in Lincoln and was the O-line coach with him. And then when Sonny left, he promoted me back to OC, and I was in Lincoln for about 6 years. So one of it was with Coach Pollock. The other 5 was with my own dad.
So what was the difference in playing for him and working for him as an adult?
As a coach, you kind of see some of the things behind the doors that you just don't see as a player, and you understand why they're frustrated or what they're getting upset about. But I also got to see working for him, like as a player, all you're worried about is winning as a player. You're not really worried about a coach that's, they're preaching this and that. But as working for him, I got to see why it was so important to not just worry about winning football games, but to try to improve young men make them better men. And we tried to do it as Christ-like as we could. And I've been able to learn that and actually get better in my own walk while doing that. And so it's cool to see behind the door why it's so important to do more than just win games when it comes to being a high school coach.
Yeah, the group I play golf with, I played with them Saturday, and one of the guys I was playing with, he was like, well, where have you been? I'm like, well, during football season, I can't play. And he was like, well, why not? And I said, well, Saturdays, I sleep. Sundays, we go back to work. I was like, it's an 80-hour-a-week job.
Oh, yeah.
And he was flabbergasted. Like, you're kidding. And like that, the average everyday person doesn't understand what we put into it and everything that we do that has nothing to do with football. Sometimes dealing with kids and picking them up and taking them home and making sure they have food and clothes and everything else. And I just thought it was hilarious. I mean, I didn't laugh at him. I just kind of looked at him like, oh yeah, that's right. Normal people, quote unquote, normal people, they don't realize, what we do.
Oh yeah. My wife was the same way when we got married. After about a year or two, she said, I used to just think coaching was like a hobby, and I realized it's not a hobby. It's a ministry, but it's also you're working full tilt for not a lot of money. So you definitely have to have a passion to want to be a high school coach with the amount of time you're going to put in.
Oh, absolutely. I told my dude, I was like, yeah, I got a raise this year. I'm making like 23 cents an hour now. I mean, it's awesome. And he just looked at me like he didn't know if I was messing with him or telling the truth. And I'm like, unfortunately, that's the truth. But like you said, it's a calling, and it's something that I think that if you really love young people and want to pour into young people, there's nothing like it that, to me, it ain't about the money. It's not about the prestige. It's about working with kids. And I personally enjoy that. And it sounds like you do as well.
I would agree with that completely. I think that as you see so many, especially in our society today, so many guys growing up without a father in the house and without a man around. It's always good to have coaches who can step in and fill that void and show them that you can be loved on by a man, but you're also going to be toughened up, and they can show you how to do it the right way.
So after your 6 years at Lincoln County, where did you head off to after that?
So this past year was my first year here. And I prayed a lot about it, and my wife and I did, because my wife's from Lincoln County. Fun story is I also was the head girls soccer coach at Lincoln County, and I coached both of her sisters. So we met through me coaching her sisters. But I ended up leaving there to come here as the O-line coach, and then this year has been promoted up to offensive coordinator for the upcoming season. But it was just, we prayed a lot about it, and ended up, a lot of people thought we were crazy for leaving Lincoln in football wise. And, I loved working for the old man, and it was great, but sometimes it's good to step away and, start, like you said, expanding who you know and people that you know, and not having just your dad on your resume.
Well, and you're not, Effingham County, it's not like you went to the other side of the earth. I mean, you can get home if you need to.
Yeah, it's 2.5 hours to Lincoln, and it's not bad at all. It's a pretty straight shot for the most part.
Yeah, that's not bad. It's not terrible. And it's a good area down there. I mean, you're close enough to Savannah. You got Statesboro right there. And it's such a good area.
Yeah, my wife and I have really loved it. She's really enjoyed it. I mean, she's never lived far from Lincoln, and she lived there her whole life, and then went to Georgia, which was like 50 minutes from her house, and then came back to Lincoln. And once she married me and we were living together. So this is the farthest she's ever been from home. So she's really enjoyed it once she kind of got over the homesick part. Found a job she likes, friends she likes, and South Effingham's been really good to us as a family. I've been really enjoyed working for Coach Purvis. He's a very good man, does a good job, and heck, he's given me more responsibility with each year, so it's been really fun to be a part of.
So what was it like when you came in? As I always ask head coaches, and I've had very few coordinators or position coaches on, and the same thing applies. But what do you do when you go in? You're the new guy. You're the new offensive line guy, because you want to put your mark on it. You want to, do what you want to do with it. What were some of the first things you thought you needed to do once you got in there?
Well, first thing I wanted to do was make sure I build a relationship with the kids, let them know that I'm not here just to try to leave immediately. I want to be here. I'm looking forward to being here, that I care about them more than just players. Every summer done since I was in Lincoln, I've done what's called the Fat Boy Cookout. I bring them all over to the house. We cook a bunch of hamburgers and sides and all this. But the first thing I wanted to do as a coach, just from watching film and seeing, was we had to instill being tougher up front, being a lot more physical. And I know I'm a younger coach.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1, go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2, collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3, play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4, unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
But I come from a lineage of old school coaches. And if you can't run the ball and you can't be physical up front, you're not going to win many games. And that was one of the main things we had to do. And we were very young this year. For about 4 or 5 of our games, our starting lineup was the 2 tackles were sophomores. The 2 guards and center were 9th graders. And we were able to win 4 games this year. And it was just, they bought into trying to hit and be physical. And we've still got a really long way to go. But they've bought into what we're trying to sell.
Well, and you'll get to the point where, as I'm fired up about this off season, they'll all be back for their senior year. I've got all 5 back. And
that's, we're excited about it. We're not losing. We had 2 seniors that played for us, but they got injured during the year. And so the young guys got a really good opportunity. Our quarterback was a 9th grader. And we're not losing many seniors. On offense, the only senior we're losing is our tight end. But he also started at linebacker. And he definitely was a lot better linebacker than tight end. And he wasn't a bad tight end. Just they're going to miss him more than we are, because we got a couple young guys I think can step up and do. But we're excited that, the future is very bright here at South. We've got a really, really young group, and they seem to be bought into what we're trying to sell.
Well, what are some things during the off season? I mean, do you coach another sport, or do you have the time just to spend with your O-line guys in the off season?
Yeah, so that was one of the things that kind of drew me to South, is I'm not having to coach a spring sport. I'm able just to teach history. And so starting in February, we're going to start doing some extra lifts, extra little workouts with the linemen. We're a little bit behind strength wise. So we're going to try to catch up, work on our footwork, work on things you just don't get time during fundamental period during the regular season. And it's going to be a good bonding. Do it 2 or 3 days a week, just kind of get to be around the kids more and make them a little better. So I'm excited for that this off season.
Yeah, I was just curious, wanted to pick your brain about that, because I'm starting with mine Wednesday, and I'm just going to go Monday, Wednesday. It's about 45 minutes after school, and just like to hear, different ways and it's one good thing about going lots of places and knowing people is you can bounce ideas off of people and say, hey, how do you do this? And I don't care if you're a first-year coach or a 30-year coach. You've probably got some ideas or ways of doing it that are way better than my way. So that's I like asking.
I'll definitely be hitting you up after this to get some ideas on what we can do. And our plans, we're just going to try to lift a little bit and do some work on our footwork. I don't get a lot of time, more of a run-oriented guy, so I don't get a lot of time to really focus on the pass setting sometimes during the season, because we just run it more than we throw it. So that's a good time to really try to work that stuff. And luckily for me, most of my linemen, if they're playing another sport, it's wrestling, so they'll be over soon, or they're doing shot put and discus, which is easy to work with, and getting them back in with me. And so I'm definitely going to be calling you and picking your brain on some of these things we can do.
So what are you thinking about? What kind of offense can we look forward to out of you guys as you take over the play calling responsibilities?
Yes, we're going to be. So I've always been, when we were in Lincoln and we were wing T, we were single wing that year under Michael Pollock, which might surprise you because he's a more of a spread guy, but we were single wing that first year. But we're going to be a gun T and be able to get under center wing T. We've got some good athletes that can get out on the perimeter and help us a little bit, especially some of these younger guys. We had 2 guys move in during the year last year that were ruled ineligible due to moving in from other states. So we'll have them this year, which will be a great plus for us, especially at receiver. But we're going to be more of a gun tee, trying to read it. We got a quarterback who's young and runs it well, and we've got a pretty good senior running back coming up that ran for 1,000 yards this past year, but only in 8 games because he got hurt and couldn't play. And he played like 3 snaps in one and didn't play at all in the other. So we're going to be more of a gun tee, get under center, short downs when we need to.
Sounds good. Run that football. I like that.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Big
I'm not
guy.
adverse to throwing the ball, but you know, like you said, you got to be able to run the ball. You got to be able to stop the ball. You got to be able to block. You got to be able to tackle. That's not going to change. It was the same way when you played. It's going to be the same way when your kids play. It's going to be the same way when their kids play. The game has changed, but it hasn't changed that much.
Oh yeah, you got to be able to be physical, and I think that's what helped us this past season. The year before, South had gone 0-10, just a lot. That was the year with the hurricane, and just anything that could go wrong for them went wrong. And this year, we really focused on just getting more physical on offense and defense. And I'll tell you, Carson McClellan became the DC this past year and did an amazing job with our defense here at South. He did some things and put kids in positions to be successful that I don't think many coaches would have been able to do. I speak very highly about him. Did a great job as a first-year DC, did a very good job. And on offense, our whole mentality was we've just got to be physical and hit people. And it helped us. We won 2 games in overtime, and our other 2 wins were a 1-score game. So every game was a shootout, and we just found a way to win with a young team, which was exciting.
So what are some things that you've done to try to make them more physical? I mean, we talk about it all the time. You know, we say we got to be more physical, or we got to toughen them up. Well, it didn't circus 1982. I mean, what are some things specifically that you do to try to make them tougher and more physical?
Well, I'll tell you, I think this is where the old school comes out. And my dad was very, very good. And I've always noticed him with his line that they were very physical. So I just listen to them every time we get a chance. If it's special teams going on and the linemen aren't involved, we're not doing field goal, we're under the chute board drilling. And we got to a point where, you know, early on, it's like pulling teeth to get kids to want to go board drill. But to me, my philosophy is you can't expect kids to hit and want to hit if you're not going to hit at practice.
Correct.
So we take them in there under the chute and we make them wail on each other and just go over and over. And that's an everyday thing. And we get to a point where as soon as they hear punt team, a lot of the linemen just start running to the chute. I didn't even have to call it anymore because they knew what was coming. And that's a Monday, Tuesday. Early in the year, we'll do it a little bit on Wednesdays. Obviously, as the year goes on, you pull off because you just don't want to risk injuries and all that. But anything we're doing drill-wise, we're trying to be hitting. When you're pulling and wrapping, we're hitting somebody, just trying to get used to punching and placement. When we go team, I mean, I'll sit back there and tell the D-line exactly where to go because I want to make it harder. And I tell them all the time, I don't care if you make the tackle against us, but knock out that joker in front of you just to make him have to hit. But like you said, I mean, there's a million ways to do it, but board drill is my favorite way. Throw them under the chute, make it a competition, make them pick somebody, and it's best 2 out of 3, and whoever loses, that group's got to do up downs. So it gets them fired up to be over there. So trying to make everything just a competition as best we can.
I like it. I like the EDD being board drills under the chutes, that you're basically working fundamentals, stuff that they've got to do. You know, I don't really care about your footwork right now. I don't care about, I just want you coming off the ball and getting your hands inside and getting that joker up out of there.
Oh yeah. And that's the main thing I say, guys, when we do this drill, I'm not worried about anything, but are you willing to fist fight and win? If it's 4th and 2, can we run it behind you? And so that's all we want to see is come off and hit them, and they're going to do whatever you got to do to drive them out.
Yeah, we don't have a chute, but we're getting one. Like that's it. I think it got ordered last week, and I'm going to be like a little kid at Christmas with one of those because it is extremely difficult to get them to play at the pad level you want them to. I know.
Oh yeah.
Like when I grade mine out every week, we do like I mark the play number on Huddle, and they either get a plus or a minus. And I know people are like, why do you even grade them? They know because they want to know that they're being held accountable. But anyway, I go in there and I'm like, footwork was wrong. You stepped with the wrong foot. You messed up the rule. You went the wrong way. And then we have an improvement list. And then we have all this other stuff that I got from Christian Honeycutt's up at Gainesville now. He's one of the best, to me, one of the best offensive line coaches in Georgia, if not southeastern United States. But anyway, Cut gave me all this stuff, and I used the same things. And I told every week they knew pad level. I mean, it was going to be playing too high, and trying to get them to understand, I get it. It's not really your fault because we don't have a way to get you to understand how low you need to play, but we're going to now. And I'm going to be using your board drills under there for my EDDs.
Oh, yeah. Look, that was one thing in Lincoln, and we had an old shoot that was just atrocious. I think it was around when Thomas Bunch was in Lincoln. And I mean, it was old. I mean, Larry Campbell definitely had it because it was there before him. And I always pick on my dad because we had my last year there, we went to the semifinals, had a really good year. I decided to come to South Effingham, and I walk out there for spring practice one day, and he's bought a brand new chute. And I said, my gosh, I couldn't have gotten that.
Yeah. So I'm leaving. You get new stuff.
Well, he said, well, if you'd have stayed, maybe you'd have gotten it. So he was picking with me. He said, you need to come to practice. I bought something that I think you'll like. And I came out there, and I immediately just had to leave. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And I mean, I'm talking about the Cadillacs of them. It's a nice chute. Whereas we had a chute that didn't even have a tarp over the top. You had bars, so they had to stay under the bar to make sure that if they did stand up, they hit something. So they knew they were too high. But no, I'll tell you, as an O-line guy, having a chute is, like you said, is a necessity. It's hard to ask kids to play low when you can't get them in something that makes them be low all the time.
No, it's very, very difficult. I mean, there's a limit to how creative you can be. And, even if you've got those little receiver run through chute, the little T-bar, I mean, not T-bar, but the round aluminum adjustable, getting them out of there, that's not the same. I mean, it's just not.
No, it's not. You need something that you can make it low, and it's long enough to, like, we down blocked out of it. We scoop out of it. Any drill we do other than like pulling, we're in that chute. And you got to be able to push it around, because if not, eventually you'll tear up the dirt so much under it that it gets rough. But yeah, I mean, we live under the chute. Our O-line and a lot of our D-line does stuff in it. And unless we're pulling, you're going to see the South Effingham team under it.
Shoot, I pulled under mine when we had it. They just had to they backed up a little bit, and when they pulled, they got up from under it. And I figured out some drills we could, pull wrap drills we could do using landmarks on the chute, doing that, because I was like, nah, we're going to stay under here. The last place we had a chute, but we're getting one. So I'm pretty excited about that. And
I'll definitely have to steal those plans from you. I'd love to find a way to pull more under it. I think it'd help us. So I'm definitely going to try to steal that from you.
Well, the thing that people are probably like, oh my God, they're nerding out about a chute. Well, the kids we coach are who you'd want your daughter to go out with.
Oh yeah.
Generally speaking, they're good kids. They're not going to be on TV. They're not going to get their names on the newspaper. 90% of them are pleasers. And as long as you're nice to them and you feed them every now and then, they'll kill somebody for you.
Oh, 100%. The reason I like coaching the OL is, and I love watching film. And when there's a big touchdown, you don't ever see a lineman drooping their head. They're as excited as anybody because they want the team to be successful. And, we talk a lot about society and things today, and I think that's a lot of what we're missing is the team aspect. Everybody's me, look at me, but you can't be that way up front. If you got a bunch of me guys, you're probably not going to be very successful up front, because it takes all five of those guys being in unison and being in sync. And it's usually, like you said, it's not the most athletic kid. It's not going to be the best player. And the only way you know who the O-lineman is when he makes a mistake. Everybody knows who he is. But you got to find a way. And I enjoy trying to find a way to make kids want to come to practice and just do nothing but hit the entire day and know that nobody knows your name.
Yeah, you just got to sell them on. You're going to get zero of the glory and all of the blame when things don't go well, and they just have to. They should know by the time they get to high school. That's kind of how it rolls. And you know, you tell them all the time, if you're all wrong, we'll be all right. Because as long as we're doing the same thing together, it'll work out.
Yep.
I just can't have one or two of y'all being wrong, you know, at a time. If y'all are going to be wrong, I need all 5 or 6 of y'all to be wrong.
Oh, yeah.
When in doubt, straight it. When in doubt, just make it zone. Just block man in front of you. Gap down backer. Can't go wrong.
Ours is, if you're not sure what to do, gap down backer. Just block down. If you're not sure, just block down and you're probably right.
Yeah.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa Welcome Bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
And you're dealing with country kids, you can tell them that oil blocking.
Oh, yeah.
On inside linebacker. And, you know, some of them are
that.
smart. They'll figure out that oil spells on inside linebacker.
I like that.
If they're country kids, they might not understand gap down backer, because as the years have gone by, I've noticed that they don't necessarily understand gap. And then down, I've had kids that I've had to explain to them down is towards the ball.
Yep.
And you can't even get mad about it because they don't grow up playing like you did and around the game like you were. And, you know, there's no sense in getting mad at them. Just tell them. I mean, tell one to get in a 2-point stance and he gets out of a 3-point stance and puts 2 fingers back down. I mean, he don't know no better. I mean, it's funny. There's no sense in getting mad about it. But, you know, in my defense, Coach, I've never been in a 2-point stance before. That happened at Early County. We were trying to teach kids punt.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, that happened. It was fantastic. And I couldn't even get mad. I mean, everybody else was falling on the ground laughing. But, you know, you're dealing with those kind of kids. You kind of, you know, you coach them up because you want them to have a great experience and you want them to be your best kids. And speaking of which, you growing up, being a ball boy for Coach Chafin at Mary Persons and Coach Campbell at Lincoln County, what was that like being around 2 of the most historic programs in the state of Georgia?
You know, as a kid, I don't think that you really fully grasp it. But looking back and just being able to be a part of, I mean, Mary Persons, Forsyth, and Lincoln County are just 2 different animals when it comes to football. That whole community breathes and sleeps it. I mean, it was cool being at a stadium at Mary Persons that's named after my uncle. You know, I mean, look up and see Dan Pitt Stadium and you go, man, that's pretty cool. But seeing the way Coach Campbell, I remember being at practice as a kid and the way he would interact with kids, he'd get on them, but he'd also walk over and love on them afterwards. And, you know, it was, looking back, I was very blessed to be surrounded by so many great coaches growing up. I mean, my dad, and when he was the head coach in Vidalia, Rodney Garvin was his DC for, I think, almost 10 years. And I got to grow up around. He's probably one of the best human beings and best football coaches you could ever be around. I mean, I'll tell you, Rodney Garvin, just a story that'll tell you about him and how he is. When I was in 9th grade, my cousin was killed by a drunk driver that I was pretty close with. I'd lived with her for about 2 years. And so my dad and them had to go do stuff after we lifted that morning. And he took me home to an empty house and was like, all right, I'll see you. And I went in, you know, I mean, she had just died that night before. I don't know what to do. And all of a sudden I hear a ring on the doorbell and he comes running back up and he said, "We'll get in the truck. We're going to go eat. I ain't leaving you in this house by yourself." You know, and he takes a kid that, you know, he could easily just gone home and not really even worried about what was going on. But he took me out. We ate. We just talked. He asked how I was doing, took me home. And now my parents were home. And, you know, it's things like that. I've been around some great men that are coaches. And I hope that I can be half of what a Coach Campbell, what a Coach Chafin, what a Lee Chomskis, and what a Rodney Garvin are. I just hope that one day I can be half of that.
Well, we all do. We all aspire to the guys that and those are old heads. Those are the guys that, you know, raised me in this profession, you know, that age group. And that's one of the main reasons I started this podcast was, you know, to pass on to the younger guys that didn't have the benefit of being their son like you or being around them growing up. Some of these young coaches that are in the game now that don't understand where we came from and what coaching tree you're on and how the game has evolved and changed, but it's still about relationships. It still should be about the kids, and it still should be about teaching them right from wrong and doing the right thing and holding them accountable.
I agree 100%. And that's what made me want to be a coach growing up, and just seeing the impact that you can have as a coach on a young man with not just winning games, but also just being a better man and how you should treat people.
Well, let me ask you this. As a younger coach, I mean, you're not a baby. You've been doing it enough. You're not a young coach, but you're kind of getting toward middle-aged in the coaching universe. What are some things about young coaches or guys your age that you notice is a little bit different than how you look at things? Or, I mean, not trying to say you're a better person than them or you're a better coach than them, but I'm just saying, what are some things generationally that you notice that when you were growing up, you're like, oh, yeah, Coach so-and-so, well, he wouldn't have put up with that. But these guys now, what are some things that you might see that kind of irk you about, you know, your generation as far as coaches go?
Well, I tell you, one thing I have noticed, and I kind of benefited from it, but a lot of young coaches immediately think that, you know, be a coordinator, I have to do this. Like, it seems like a lot of people don't really want to, and it's not all, but a lot of people don't really want to work to build up that title, to learn things that they don't know. It seems like a lot of coaches they get in a system and only know one system, you know, and I would always give advice of learn everything you can learn. At Kennesaw State, we ran the triple option. At Franklin Pierce, we were spread inside zone, outside zone. Then I was single wing at Lincoln for 1 year. Then we were wing T. Then we were gun T, and then went back to wing T. Came here and we were a mixture of wing T, spread. I think as a coach, you should want to learn as much as you possibly can, because if you get stuck in one way and all of a sudden you don't have the kids who can do that, you know, maybe you got to be able to adjust and change and I think sometimes to understand that, you know, everyone young thinks that, you know, heck, when I was 24, I probably thought I could have been the greatest head coach ever. And then you look at it as you start to get older and realize, man, there's so many things I've just didn't know, coaching wise, behind the scenes with parents and all the stuff you have to deal with. That work hard, earn your stripes, and just know that it takes time. And look, I get frustrated. I've wanted to be a head coach, but I realize that God's got a plan and that when he wants it to happen, it'll happen. And until then, I'm just going to work hard and keep trying to learn as much as I can. We
got to chew a little dirt. You know, that's part of it. And I, you know, people, probably some of the younger guys that listen and know of me, they think that I hammer young coaches all the time, but there's things about my generation that I don't like as far as coaching goes. And, you know, we're inflexible. We're, you know, we're allergic to technology, and not all of us, but I mean, there's a lot of us that are like, I don't know how to do that. And they're not going to, you know, don't even try to learn, you know, it's just going to be hard-headed and do it, whatever. So it's not like I'm just picking on one generation. I'm fully aware of the shortcomings of mine as well. I've pointed out that, you know, if older coaches have a problem with young coaches and the way they do things, it's our fault because we let them do it. I mean, it's the same thing as dealing with the kids. You're going to get whatever you expect out of them or whatever you're willing to tolerate from them. So there's that. So what are some things that you would tell? I mean, you have your doctorate.
Yes, sir.
And so that's important. So how big of a deal do you think it is, as young as you can be, get as many degrees as you can get?
I would. So the reason I decided to do it, there were two reasons. All my dad ever got was a bachelor's degree. And growing up, he always told me, said, if you decide to get an education, you need to get every degree you can, because he said, I missed out on so much money not just getting a master's degree. I would advise every coach that's young, while you're young, learn as much as you can football and get every degree you can possibly get, because the pay is so worth it when you get it younger. I'm always kind of surprised by, like, we've got a teacher in our school she's working on her doctorates, but she's only got 3 more years left. And I'm like, well, what's the point at this point? You're not going to really earn it back, because she plans on retiring as soon as she hits 30. I'm 31. At 30 years old, I was able to finish my PhD, and, it's a major pay bump, but it also, now I don't ever have to worry about going back to school again. I've gotten the highest degree that I want to get, that I can get. And my other reason for getting it was my mom had a specialist degree with teaching, and I always told her I was going to get one higher than her, so she couldn't be the smartest in the family anymore. And the funny part was, when I finished it, I kept telling the old man, I said, you're going to have to call me doctor once I get it. He said, I'll call you one time doctor, and I'll never do it again. And so he's called me Dr. Chomskis once, and then ever since then, I don't think I'll ever hear it again.
That's awesome. I call everybody doctor. So.
Just, get it in something that makes sense. Get it. And I love history. I really enjoy being in the history classroom. Have always enjoyed it. And so I got my doctorates in history. It's PhD in the philosophy in history from Liberty. And I would advise young coaches, I'd get it as many as you can before you have kids. I don't have any children yet, and it made it a lot easier to get it done when I don't have little kids running around. And my wife was definitely happy about that. So once we have a family of our own one day, she'll be glad I'm not a student anymore.
Oh, there ain't no doubt, because you'll be able to help.
Oh yeah. And she's expecting a lot of that.
Oh yeah. Well, as they should. I thought it was funny when you talked about your wife thinking it was just a hobby. Mine's in accounting, and it's tax season right now. So she's, we're recording this on Monday, the King holiday, and my wife is actually at work. And she works now. For the past 2 weeks since the new year, she works Monday through Saturday till 6:00 at night. So from May to December, she's the parent. From January to May, I have to kind of be in charge of making sure our son's where he's supposed to be and doing what he's supposed to be doing, because it's team effort. But I just wanted you to touch on that about the degrees. I'm a dissertation away from my doctorate, and I'm in the same.
That's awesome.
Well, I'm in the same boat the lady was you were talking about. There's no sense in me finishing it. The amount of money it would cost me to write the paper, I'm not going to recoup it. And I'm not teaching PE. I'm a special ed, co-teacher. I help with math, and I'm a math person outside of PE. And so there's really no sense in me doing it, but I try to encourage all the young coaches out there. I tell them, get as many degrees as fast as you can, because once I'm not mad that I don't have it, because it's just one box on the scale I don't have, because I'm stepped out, I'm yeared out. And the thing that sucks about our profession is that once you get to year 22, you're not going to get another raise unless the state gives you one. So you better the only way you can get more money is to go into administration, be a head coach, and have advanced degrees. So I just wanted somebody your age to, maybe they'll listen to you,
Well, I agree with you. I think get everything you can, especially if you ever plan to be a head coach. I'm lucky now that I have my doctorates that, a lot of schools give out 12-month contracts or extended day. And now that money really starts to jump up, because it's based off of what you're paid in the school plus what they give you as a supplement. It's just a major advantage. I tell everybody to get them as much as you can. At least get your master's. And if you can get a specialist or doctorate, great. If not, at least get a master's degree. It's about a $5,000 a year difference, which over the years makes a big difference.
Oh, there ain't no doubt. I was about to say, with your doctorate, you're actually bumping yourself about 7.2 years up on the pay scale, if not more. Somewhere between 7 and 10 years. Yeah, 10 years in with a doctorate as opposed to 10 years in with a bachelor's is a significant amount of money. And contrary to what people believe, you're not going to do this forever. And at some point in time, you're going to want to retire. and your highest 2 years or 3 year, whatever it is, highest 2 years is going to be a whole lot better when you have those advanced degrees.
Oh yeah, and I grew up with parents in education. That's all I ever heard. If I was going to get in, do it. And I'd also the advice of young coaches, don't take a break in between them too long, because I remember getting my master's. I was like, all right, I'm going to get a doctorate, but I'm going to take a year off. And it went summertime and football was just getting started. And I said, man, I love not being a student. And I realized that if I didn't get in the program right then, I probably never would. So I went ahead and applied to places and got in. And if you can just keep continually doing it, even though I know student loans aren't always the best, like you said, it's worth it when you get to year 22 and you're not going to get any more pay bumps as high as you possibly can.
Well, there ain't no doubt. And it's a math problem. I mean, if you can, you're young enough, if you take out the student loans, the amount of raise that you get for the advanced degree, you can pay off the student loan in a smaller amount of time. I mean, it's just not, I don't understand why one wouldn't do that if they could, if they're going to stay in this. And that.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
That's kind of the odd thing about, making the jump. You're still at an age, and I'm not saying you want to, and I'm not saying you would, but you're still at an age where with your doctorate now, you could go coach back in college. You could go you have more, there's more irons in the fire for you. And one of the problems I have with the college game is that, they would expect you to come in GA, and who in the world's going to do that? In the state of Georgia, I've been fortunate enough at Coach of the Year clinics and Glazier clinics, working the hospitality suite and hanging out, talking to these college coaches. And I really don't think they understand how much we get paid in the state of Georgia to teach and coach.
Yeah, look, if you get the degrees, I mean, if like my dad will always say, with just having a bachelor's, he didn't take advantage of it, but you can make some really, really good money for your family by having those degrees, by coaching and getting in a place, and every school system pays different. And, that was one thing that South did that was, they pay a lot more than a small school like Lincoln can. So I was able to even take more advantage of, I finished my doctorate this summer coming right into working here. And I saw a major pay bump because of that. So it's definitely worth it. I'll tell you, the GA spots, I remember doing that in New Hampshire at Franklin Pierce. They paid me $650 a month, and my rent was $600. So it was fun living off of $50 a month. But they pay for your degree, and they feel like that's good enough. And it's even harder to get GA spots now because they're filling all of that with former players instead of, sometimes the guys like us who are the young guys who were trying to make that push and get into college coaching.
Well, being one that has that kind of experience, what's something you can tell, what are some things that you're able to pass on to your kids, your players, about the recruiting process and how much things have changed now, trying to instill upon them, the things that are important and not passing down any opportunity that comes their way?
I've always told mine, you've got to first off be patient. When I was in college, the transfer portal wasn't a thing yet. And the transfer portals, it's murdering the high school game. It's murdering kids getting recruited, because now, if you're a 5 or 4 star, you'll be getting offers as early as they can possibly offer. But if you don't have stars by your name, like I'll give an example. At Lincoln County, we had a kid named CJ Cright, who's now playing at Cincinnati. He was redshirted this year, but he's the backup, and he was going to be on every special team. But they said, why don't we redshirt you so that you don't lose a year being a special teams guy, because we think you can really help us. CJ wasn't getting offers till midway through his senior year because he finally went to a camp and got 3 stars, and now they'll offer you. I tell kids, you got to be patient. And if someone's willing to pay for your education, who cares if it's NAIA D2 or D1? At the end of the day, if you know, like, I mean, why not get an education? Why not get somebody to pay for you to at least get a bachelor's degree and open up more doors in the future? And you also can sell kids on, look, these schools are overlooking you. If you really think you can play D1, go D2 and play 2 years and then transfer out if you really think you can do it. But I always tell kids, take advantage of getting an education. Because that's something I feel like we've lost with NIL and with transfer portal. I mean, there's kids that, like, I look at Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett was in college for like 6.5 years and didn't get a college degree. And I'm like, what are we doing at the college ranks now where we're not really selling the degree like we used to? And that's something I try to sell as many kids as I can, that you open up doors with degrees. So just, if someone's willing to pay for it, why wouldn't you want to take advantage no matter the level?
Well, they're going to use you for ball. You use them to get the paper.
Amen.
Because as soon as you get hurt, they're just going to roll you out of the way and find another one that looks just like you.
Yep. And it's a business. I always make sure kids know, look, in high school, as a coach, I feel like as a high school coach, you've got to sometimes be a better coach than at college, because you only get what walks through your hallways. Whereas in college, you know what? I don't like these kids. I'll just go find a whole brand new group for next year.
Well, that kind of depends on your theory and philosophy of high school coaching, but you're right. You're right.
It's starting to change too. It's starting to change with NIL and people moving. I've seen it. We've lost kids at schools where all of a sudden it's like, all of a sudden housing opens up right beside a high school. That's a different story. That's the high school game starting to turn into it as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a problem, because it's not what it's supposed to be. I was fortunate enough to coach in the GACA All-Star game a couple of weeks ago, and I laughingly made the comment that, so this is what it's like to coach it, fill in the blank. And I was like, you got All-Stars, and in 2 practices we put in an offense and could actually run it with some level of, competency. And I mean, we did stuff in 2 practices that it took me 2 months to get my knuckleheads to understand how to do, because you're dealing with kids that are elite, and they look at you and you go, all right, we're going to run zone here. This is what we're looking for. We're going to double here to him and count the box. And he's the mic, he's the -1, make sure we declare. And they all look at you and nod. And then the first time you run it, they do it. And I'm like, I just need to get in the All-Star game coaching.
I know.
Here. This is awesome.
I can only imagine being some of these coaches that have a brand new quarterback every year, or brand new linemen that move in every year. It must be nice to get the best from everywhere around. Like you said, like being an all-star team almost.
Crap, I saw one bunch the other day on Twitter. They had 4 All-Americans on one team. I was like, that's insane. I mean, I'm not mad at them. I'm not even remotely, I don't care like how you got them or I don't care. You could have developed them from middle school. That's great. I don't care. It's just the fact that you had 4. And I'm like, holy
that must be
smokes.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've had teams where we were like, well, our best player's this guy, and if we put him over here, well, they can't run that way. The problem is they can run the other way, and it ain't looking real good over there. But if you've got dudes everywhere, you can just be like, all right, guys, let's, because they make us better than we are a lot of times. So I don't care what anybody says. Players win games.
Well, it's not about the X's and O's. It's about the Jimmy and Joes. You better have the right guys. And at the end of the day, if you can give it to that's why I always like looking Lincoln. My father-in-law, he played with Garrison Hurst and talks about how good they were. I was like, man, at the end of the day, you could just run toss sweep and he's going to score from no matter where you're at.
Coach, I was at Aquinas in the 90s. All right. And that was before they figured out that they could recruit and get, kids in. So we were not very good. We're in the region with Lincoln County. And I remember Coach Campbell one time yelling across the field, we're going to block down, kick out, and toss it to that guy. Over and over and over and over. It's no secret. It ain't no surprise. And they did. Oh, he kept his end of the bargain. I mean, it was. He did exactly what he said he was going to do.
Coach Campbell's the first that'll tell you. And that's one thing I loved being in Lincoln as a coach, older, getting to learn from him. Because I remember just one time talking to him, I was like, man, he said, at the end of the day, who's the best player with the ball in his hand? And you point at him and go, then just give him the ball. I was like, why are you overthinking it? Just hand him the ball and let him do something.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we're trying to be too cute. We're watching what people do on TV, and I don't know if that's a young man issue or just a human nature issue, but I get so frustrated when I'm like, and I guess it was growing up in Columbia County playing baseball. We had a rule for pitchers that if you throw a curveball to somebody and he looks like he couldn't hit a beach ball with a boat paddle, come right back and throw it again because he's not going to figure out in 11 seconds the mystery of a curveball.
Yep.
And I feel the same way about football. I'm like, if you run a play, if you run power and you get 6 yards, attack, line up, run it again, let's go. Because they're not going to figure it out. They obviously are not fitting where they're supposed to, or, you have a matchup that's working. Now, if they stone you the next time, now let's relax and go on to the next thing. But, a lot of times I like that with counter where, if they're not fitting where they're supposed to, you rip off counter. And I've seen people, they'll run counter off of nothing these days. I don't understand that because you used to have to run like lead, power, counter. And now people run counter like first play of the game. I'm like, how does that even work?
I know that's something. I'll tell you, that was, again, being a blessing, learning from someone like Sonny Spurlock, the way he would set up his counter every time, the way he set up his play action pass. It was always based off of something we've been running at you. And now he all of a sudden sees that backside guy's not paying attention. Oh, here we come. So I agree. You come out first play and they run counter and you go, what are you countering off of?
Yeah, air. Now, one thing I did enjoy, I learned so much from Brandon Byram at Taylor County. He's a coach's kid too, and he's a very, very intelligent, good offensive guy. And his thing that he taught me was, I want answers. I want answers. If we call a play and they get in whatever, I don't want we don't have a play here. Well, we need to be able to check to something.
Mm-hmm.
I want answers. And that's something I picked up from him that I've been real big on, where I'm like, if we call buck and they mug us in A gap, well, we obviously can't pull them because we can't block everybody. What do we do? And I just tell my linemen to straight it, just turn it in the zone. The back will figure it out. We'll it just becomes something else instead of running a bad play. And I think that's so important that, that's something that I don't think people understand about the high school game all the time, that there's a lot of things that go on up front that you've got to be able to handle, and they've got to be able to communicate, and they've got to be on the same page. And, they've got to have the mentality, if we're all wrong, we're all right, because, you can't have one guy not get the memo and he gets out of there and you get smoked in the backfield. Now the people in the stands start telling you to look for somebody because you ain't blocked somebody all day. And, it's just a problem.
And when you're dealing with kids in high school, people just don't realize the difference in high school and colleges. Yes, the college kids are going to class, but they have film for multiple hours. They've got practice for hours. They're lifting weights together and doing more film. Whereas in high school, you get about 2 to 3 hours a day at most with these kids. And they're also, if you're on period schedule like we are, you're taking 7 classes, math, science, history, English, and you're trying to learn a brand new play. That's just a lot you're asking of high school kids sometimes. And some people just get way too complicated and wonder why it doesn't work, is you're just asking too much.
Well, and they also may have broken up with their girlfriend in first period, got a new girlfriend in third period, and she's on his head by sixth period. Mom and them ain't been home for a week. They ain't got no groceries in the house. They don't know, they're getting yelled at practice. People can call college kids all they want to. They're grown men. I mean, they can be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. I don't want to hear that they're kids. And in the college game, if Boo-Boo McFoo doesn't do what he's supposed to do, they'll put him on the first hot thing smoking back to Lincolnton, and he can go drive a pulpwood truck somewhere or not, whatever, and go get him a job in Augusta, and they just move on to the next one where we Boo-Boo LaFoo is who we got. I mean, that's it. Our job is to get Boo-Boo better. I mean, because Boo-Boo's playing because Bobo behind him ain't as good as Boo-Boo. So we got to get Boo-Boo LaFoo ready. And
yeah.
they don't understand
agreed.
that. I mean, I tell kids all the time, I'm like, look, man, I will fire your behind. Now, I may rehire you the next play, but I will fire you. I will pull you off. Somebody asked, one of the teachers asked the other day about, do you yell at them? And I'm like, I did when I was a young coach. I said, but now that I've gotten older, they don't pay attention to that. I said, what they do pay attention to is that white line that runs down the sideline. They do not like standing behind that.
Oh, yeah.
Because they want to play.
Playing time in the bench speaks louder than anything.
Yeah, it's like the old Bobby Knight, bench talks to butt, tells butt, whatever that thing was about, how you get them to figure it out. But, well, Coach, I sure do appreciate you coming on and sharing your story with us and just the generational. It's cool to see guys go, multi-generational coaches and young guys that are in it for the right reasons and treating it as a ministry and pouring into young people. And, I wish only the best for you, and you're definitely headed in the right direction. That's for sure. Well,
I really appreciate it. And I thank you for allowing one of these young coaches on to talk with you. I've really enjoyed it. It's been a great time.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, it's Cole Swindell, and when I spend 200 days a year rolling down the highway, the bus can start to feel smaller than a guitar case. Everyone wonders how I stay chill while the hours crawl by. Truth is, one good luck spent on Chumba, and suddenly the trip feels a whole lot shorter. Finding your space, even when there isn't much to spare. Need some chill? Let's Chumba.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus TNC Supply. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
If you work in university maintenance, Grainger considers you an MVP because your playbook ensures your arena is always ready for tip-off. And Grainger is your trusted partner, offering the products you need all in one place, from HVAC and plumbing supplies to lighting and more. And all delivered with plenty of time left on the clock, so your team always gets the win. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, visit Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.